Hello and welcome back, everybody. I'm Chance and we are here for another Our Life Beginnings and Always video, the last part of step 2. Let's get into it. Alright, so just a quick little update before we get started. I wanted to send a huge shout out to all you lovely people that have dropped me a like or have commented. Every time I read one, it makes me smile. It kind of brightens up my day. So thank you so much. I super appreciate it. And one more thing, I'm going to be peppering in some other video games. I'm not quite sure what that looks like yet as we move forward because the computer that I'm currently using isn't necessarily the best. I don't know what it's capable of. I actually tried to record another video game the other day and it just didn't work. I thought it was working and it didn't. So I wasn't able to show that one to you guys. So I'm just going to go through a couple more like free games to see like what all this thing can do. And yeah, so there might be more random video games coming up here in the future. We'll see. I'm just letting you know. Let's do the thing now. Let's do it. I left y'all on a cliffhanger. He ducked his head further. You thought about it. I like you. Well, I like Cove. Mr. Holden. There are a lot of guys I think are cool. Not right now. I don't really want to say that. Oh. Do we be vague? Or do we want to be vague? Do we just want to like not say anything? Do we want to... I don't know. We'll do this one. Oh, Derek shrugged and then started to mumble and wonder. Maybe you don't get what I'm trying to ask. So... Derek pulled himself together somewhat meekly. He looked at you while he tried to project confidence. His posture was too tight for you to believe it. He was nervous.
Right.
You know, thinking ahead and everything is important. You've got to get yourself a game plan and all that. It's good to make plans, especially backup plans. He babbled, all full of energy and forced gusto. Well, anyways, I heard about this thing where people make pacts with their good friends that if they don't find anyone else, then they get together. What? What are you talking about, Derek? Together, like they get married and stuff. So I was thinking, since it's good to have plans, it might be cool if we did something like that. His eyes widened and he started to make frantic hand gestures. Just, you know, then we'd never have to worry about the future or finding someone. We can just set it like a whole decade in the future, forever from now. We'd have graduated high school and probably college too. We'd have jobs and be really grown up. I mean, we'd probably have our own places and maybe our own pets and student loans and cars. Derek, how old are you? Derek babbled on for a while more. It was as if all the words he held in silence during your walk had burst out now, all at once. So yeah, what do you think? Okay. That's a good idea. I think having a backup plan sounds smart. You accepted the deal because you liked Derek. I'll think about it. I don't think that would work. I'm sorry, Derek. Do you like me? Well, I don't want to agree to any pacts here. I don't want to hurt him. He's too precious. Honestly, he's probably one of the best characters in the game, right? You know what? I'm going to do the mouse wheel thing. We're going to see what happens here. Do you like me? Of course I like you, but it's not... He had to pause, desperate to find a way to explain himself. It's... Well, you don't have to think about that kind of thing right now. It's better to worry about all that later, when we're grown up. That's why it's a good idea to have a plan, you know? And well, Honestly, I think you and me would work out the best for that.
So,
So... We don't have the mouse wheel! It leads back to here. You know what? We're gonna think about it. We're not gonna outright say no. But we're not gonna outright say yes. I'll think about it. It's kind of a big decision for just being put on the spot. Yeah, sure, don't worry about it. It was just an idea. Thanks for hearing me out and answering my questions and stuff. You felt a little worried that Derek wasn't happy. When he saw your face, he smiled encouragingly. I promise I'm not mad. I was just wondering. I'm sure things will be okay in the future, no matter what. You just nodded. You didn't spend much longer at the park after that. Derek didn't want to miss his dad, so you both made your way back to your street. After Derek went back home, you decided to settle in for the night. Stretching your arms over your head, you noticed that the living room and the phone were free. You took it easy, you called Lee. We're calling Lee! Pronto! You picked up the receiver and quickly punched in the familiar number, while going to take a seat on the couch. Soon enough, after explaining the situation to the housekeeper, Lee answered. Hey! Hi Lee, can you talk? Definitely. We practically have to. My gosh, can you believe it's almost time for school to start? What happened to our summer? School starts first thing tomorrow for me. Ew, and I thought starting next week was bad enough. Enjoy your last week. Oh, I will. I hope you'll survive your first day. I'm looking forward to it. Then I have nothing to worry about. You'll have a better chance at surviving. And at least summer was nice while it lasted, right? We were busy. Yeah. Fondly, you thought about all the best memories you made this summer. Lee was there for some, but there were still many you hadn't filled her in on yet. You reminisced about a moment of your summer, you moved on to talk about her. Let's reminisce really quick. You began to speak about the road trip you took, the one day with the big shopping trip in the morning, that time you went to Cove's house for dinner, the incredibly hot afternoon. We're going to talk about that road trip. I think that was probably the high point. The Cove's house for dinner thing was really cool too, but I liked the road trip. I went on a vacation. Cove's parents ended up inviting my whole family on an RV road trip. Whoa, that's awesome! It was a 3-day trip, and we visited the Redwood National Forest. Lucky! The park was amazing. It was fun hanging out with everyone all together. I really liked riding in an RV for the first time. It was fun hanging out with everyone all together. I hope the RV wasn't small. Lee laughed, trying to imagine how busy it must have been for 7 people sharing such a little space. The thought had you laughing too, remembering the ups and downs of the trip. You were happy Mr. Holden and Kyra invited you. It wasn't bad. We had a good time. Let's do one more. Let's talk about Cove's thing. You began to speak about that time you went into Cove's house for dinner. One night, Cove's parents invited me over for dinner at their house for the first time. Mr. Holden made Mexican food. The meal was good. Mexican is yummy, so that's no surprise. What else happened? We played card games. I got to name one of Cove's pet fish. It was just a really good night. It was a pretty terrible night. We got to name one of Cove's pet fish. What did you pick? Skipper. Wow. Why hasn't Cove asked me to name one of his fish? He has a bunch, right? That had you bursting into laughter. You almost accidentally dropped the phone. She giggled in return. Was there another one on there that... do we want to talk about? That one day with the big shopping trip in the morning, that incredibly hot afternoon. Sure, we'll talk about the hot afternoon and then I think we'll be done. I remember the hottest day this summer. I could barely do anything and had to stay inside the entire afternoon. I learned more about my mom's though. My parents acted really embarrassing the whole time. Cove was so hot at his house, he bummed around at mine all day. Cove came over and we made sandwiches together. I played tic-tac-toe with Cove. They were embarrassing, but we played tic-tac-toe with Cove. Did you win? No. Darn. I bet it was still fun though. Alright, let's let her talk. What was your big highlight of the summer, Lee? Talking to you is always the best part of my summer. Even though it was a phone call, you just knew that Lee was winking at you. You laughed, you shook your head. Come on, tell me. Good, I'm glad you picked the right answer. Good, I'm glad you picked the right answer. That had Lee laughing hard for a few moments. Alright, okay, so a high point for me was when I took that trip with my parents to Europe. That was amazing. You and Lee continued to go over your adventures until you both were yawning to each other over the phone. At that, you decided it was time to say goodbye for now. You did have school to wake up for in the morning. Bye, Lee. Bye. Night, Jamie. Talk to you later. You left the phone on the side table for now. Looking at the clock on the wall, you saw that there was only about 10 minutes until your moms would be insisting you had to go to bed, so you could be rested enough for school. You stretched your legs out on the couch and sighed in defeat, watching the minute hand change 1 minute closer to bedtime. You rearranged yourself, feeling restless, and looked out the window. Startled initially, you spotted a figure out in the hills. It was Cove. When the surprise faded, you realized it really wasn't that much of a shock at all. It was exactly something Cove would do. You went outside to meet up with him, you ran off to go see him, you left him alone, you smacked the window to get his attention, you opened the window to call out to him. Better to ask forgiveness than permission? Strolling casually, you went over to the front door. Just like... When you arrived, you noticed how many fireflies were out that night. They drifted along lazily, barely minding your presence as you waded through the reach of the top of the hill. Cove turned towards you as you approached, and you noticed right away that Cove looked happy to see you. Hey. You had a bounce in your step. You weren't sure how long you'd get before your moms roped you back inside for bed. Hey, what are you doing out here? Nothing. Not really. He shrugged, seeming unhappy with his own answer. You stared at him, waiting for him to continue. Well, I guess I was feeling kind of weird about stuff, so I'm getting some fresh air before bed. You really should go to sleep. I know how you feel. I feel good. I hope you feel better. You shrugged, you nodded. We're gonna say, I hope you feel better. His mouth pulled into a bent smile. He spoke so quietly that you almost missed it. I think I will. Cove let himself fall back onto his butt and then all the way down, so he was laying on his back. He looked up at the sky. You laid down yourself, you sat in the grass, you stood there, you sat on his chest. We're gonna sit on the grass. You lowered yourself to sit nearby. He had been lost in thought, or was possibly waiting for you to situate yourself, but he started speaking unprompted again.
Sorry.
I'm sorry for being kind of awkward when my mom was leaving. Surprised, you stared at him a moment. You weren't expecting that. I just wanted you to know that I talked to my dad about how I felt and things. It's okay now. You were genuinely glad to hear that, and it brought a small smile to your face, but your thoughts quickly wandered back to the first day you met Mr. Holden. Did his dad confess about that? From the way Cove talked, you guessed he had it. So there was more Cove and his dad should talk about, but it was a relief to know that they had made a start. Now was not a good time to bring up what you were thinking, though. You could wait longer to say it. That's going to always play a factor, isn't it? I probably should have said it much sooner. It was almost unbelievable how much of an impact he made on your life just by moving in next door. You couldn't even imagine what your days might have looked like in a world where you hadn't met him. Cove glanced back at you, waiting for a response, and you had no idea what to say. Cove just stared at you unblinkingly. What? It's you. Huh? He snickered before answering. He looked thoroughly amused with your reaction. That's what you do all the time. So I'm being you. I stare at him unblinkingly. You do that all the time too? So do you, Cove? You were stunned he noticed enough to take note of it. I don't do it that much. Not being able to argue with his assessment, you accepted it. You felt bashful about his joke. We're gonna say, so do you, Cove. Really? Yes, always. Cove couldn't help but grin at that. Honestly, there weren't many people you could think of who could tease you about something like that. Returning his smile, you realized there was no denying that you two had been around each other for a long time. Cove broke the quiet before it could fully settle. Hey, see you tomorrow. Yeah, see you then. With the final wave, Cove headed for home, but you stayed there a few minutes later. Your mind kept going back to his simple statement. See you tomorrow. No matter how much was changing around you, there were some things in your life that always seemed to remain true. The hills felt warm to you that night. Oh! Before you knew it, you were getting comfortable under the covers in your room. Your mind couldn't help but still be buzzing with thoughts about the future. You felt excited, nervous, unsure. I think Jamie is probably feeling nervous. Nervous in an excited way, but also nervous in an unsure way. I think that's why nervous is the best answer here, if that makes any sense. Because we just dealt with a couple of weird situations, and then, yeah, we're just gonna be nervous because there's a lot to think about, because little Jamie is growing up. Every bit of your gut felt like it was being turned into a pretzel. A new chapter of your life was about to begin, and you were worried that what new changes were waiting for you. Slowly your eyes grew heavy as you drifted off to sleep, your mind spinning with wishful thoughts. No matter what happened next, you could only hope that you would make the most of it. You were ensnared in a dream when a noise from the outside world jostled you. Your eyes snapped open. Noises happened. You just tried to forget it. You stubbornly kept your eyes pressed. No, we're opening our eyes. The light clatter continued. Now that you were more alert, you could distinguish it was a tapping sound. Quiet, slow, but persistent. Each beat was like being poked. You couldn't ignore it. You lifted your head from the pillow and looked for the source. Not much work was needed to puzzle it out. It was from the window. With that, you knew exactly what it was. From the color of the light filtering into your room, it was too early for anyone to be awake, including the sun. It had barely hauled itself over the horizon, but that didn't stop some people, it seemed. Cove. You sat up in bed and opened the window wide. Cool air, not yet warmed by the day, tickled your face as it pushed into your room. And just as you'd expected, there was your neighbor crouching on your windowsill. He was fully dressed, though not for school. He's gonna go surfing. Oh, God. He was wearing a wetsuit and a fond smile. Hi, Jamie. You stared back, blinking. So technically, we won't be back to school for a few more hours. His voice was delicate yet deliberate, each word a careful explanation. Classes haven't actually started yet, so do you want to go hit the beach with me one more time this summer? Oh my god, it's too cute. It's way too cute. Always, here we go again. It's way too early, Cove. You're crazy. Cove, you're so cute. You gave a decisive nod. Always. His smile widened affectionately. You rushed to get changed into something suitable while Cove climbed back down the ground to the ground level. Your limbs, still half asleep, struggled somewhat as you attempted to coordinate them into a swimsuit, but you got there in the end. Soon, you were tiptoeing out of your front door, clutching a towel. Cove was already there to greet you. Your eyes met. Cove gaze darted to your destination and back to you. You checked the door was closed, gave him a thumbs up, and the two of you leapt into action. Wordlessly, you began to run down the familiar path ahead, Cove beside you. The thrill of your illicit outing made you want to laugh. Not that you dared. If anyone in your family looked out the window and saw you, then your summer would be back to being over. One glance at Cove told you that he was exactly the same, holding back snickers for fear of being hurt and caught. The towel streamed out from under your arm like a cape. You were running so fast downhill that simply keeping your balance and not tumbling down was a real threat. It just wasn't enough of one to make you slow your pace. For every step you took, the beach was a little closer and the day a little brighter. What lay ahead for you would arrive, and you were happy to meet it. In between. Alright, so with that, we are going to end it right here because I always like to take my time with these character creation things and stuff like that, just see what happens, see what we do. So on that note, that is the end of step 2. We are going to be going into step 3 after we do all of this fun stuff. So thank you again so much for joining me. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below. What was your favorite moment of step 2? Mine was road trip. I keep bringing it up, and that's probably my favorite one. So yeah, let me know down below. And if you want to keep seeing more stuff from me, hit that subscribe button. Bye.